Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are having a good day. Welcome to another video. Happy Monday night, and hopefully you guys have a better day next day, which is Tuesday. But anyway, if you happen to live somewhere in the southern states or in the west coast, I feel like everybody who comes across this channel either lives in California, Texas, who knows. Whatever my viewers live, let's say you happen to want to change locations, move out because you're tired of the city, you're tired of the state, or you just want to experience something different, something more comfortable. Because honestly, with this economy, it's a very difficult process to be fully independent now. Such as myself, now that I have everything taken care of, it's still that little spark to move on my own. But it's like there's no potential good roommates. There's nothing really to look forward to. Because honestly, if you want to live in an apartment, you're gonna be kind of like in a lockdown. Because honestly, I feel like apartments can be claustrophobic when you're in an apartment and you're limited to do a lot of activities. Because honestly, you're only surrounded by parking lots, other rooms. One thing I do love living with my parents particularly is, even though it's not fun to say I live with my parents, but it's a new normality. Everybody is facing the same process as I am because the economy or the salaries are not enough to really sustain yourself 100%. Because honestly, roommates are the worst thing you can do. And you cannot ever count on a roommate because sometimes roommates, they work in a specific job that can be replaced by AI or get laid off because of the government shutdown. Who knows for sure? It's just one of those scenarios where it's very difficult to predict the future now because everything's so unstable. Everything is evolving to some chaotic event. But let's say that you're tired. Let's say in your situation, you're just tired of the city. You're tired of living in the South. I heard of the South is a little bit complicated, specifically the state of California. Not so much Texas, but I know Texas is a little bit expensive because I have a lot of friends that moved from Indiana to Texas. So let's say you want to change destinations, a little bit of your destiny, working and move. Well, I cannot speak for myself about Chicago or Illinois or Ohio. I live in Indiana. Basically, Indiana, Ohio, and Chicago, they're not too different. Maybe Ohio might be a little blended of a blue and red state, but I live in a red state. But I don't know. I'm not political, so I don't really pay attention to a lot of the political things that occur in my state. Because honestly, I kind of lost interest. So if you ever happen to live in the Midwest, let's say Indiana, let's say Ohio, let's say Illinois, or maybe who knows. First of all, you have to take in consideration that you have to deal with all seasons of the weather. The weather changes rapidly. You're gonna be stuck in the winter. And see, the winter might be beautiful on TV, but once you get to experience it on real life, it's a difficult situation. If you happen to have a job that requires you to work in the morning on a specific hour and it's winter time, specifically January, February, you're gonna have to really be disciplined to wake up extra earlier because you have to drive in the snow. Driving in the snow is not easy for those of you who never experienced the winter. So when it starts snowing, you got to make sure you have a car that's adequate for for this weather condition. A 4x4, a pickup or SUV, or depending on the car that you have. Or let's say like me, I have a car and it's affordable, it's good on gas, and yeah, it might be a little bit risky on the snow. I particularly use a work van when it's very bad out there because it's heavier. At least it's a little bit taller because sometimes when you have a small car, it can get stuck pretty easily on the snow, or you have to change your tires. Another thing is have extra money for gas because honestly, if you're going to be moving to the Midwest states, it snows up pretty often. So pretty often when you're surrounding yourself with snow, you have to leave early from your house, drive very slow, make sure you don't get into an accident. You have to wear extra clothing because obviously if you never experienced the winter can get pretty pretty petrified. It can get pretty cold or extremely cold. As a couple of years back, we had this scenario where, which was back in 2019, where we had to go through a phase of the negatives. One time in 2019, everything shut down due to the simple fact that it was a severe warning situation. We went from -0 to -50, and with winds, it was like almost -60. Which I'm not joking at all. I'm not exaggerating. This is a true scenario that occurred, a few years back. You're gonna be stuck in your house throughout the day, so you have to prepare with extra food, extra, a generator, because you never know. Sometimes when it gets rapidly cold, sometimes the power can go out. So that's a situation you really want to avoid. Another scenario that we had to go through was back in 2021, and honestly, this was kind of like a national thing, or not 100% national, but like Texas went through it because they were not prepared for the winter. Here in the state of Indiana, the power went out because it wasn't extremely cold or anything in particular. It was like the normal cold, like the normal 20s or 30s Fahrenheit. But it was after New Year's where it snowed and it rained and everything froze and the power went out because obviously the power cables, all got jammed, and we were out of power for straight 4 days, and people were not prepared at all, even us. So we had to use our savings, because honestly, I'm a individual person that has learned the value of saving money for any type of emergency, as you never know what can be thrown at you in this world. It's a survival of the fittest. There's no way that you're going to survive without any preparations. So we had to spend a couple $100s on a hotel because a lot of houses were without power. It was cold, and that's when everybody. It's kind of like it looked like a Black Friday. So after the power went out, everybody was kind of devastated. A lot of people went to your local Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, and bought all the generators, and we were left out with anything, and we had to drive to another city to buy the generator due to the simple fact that it was not a good situation. We were at a hotel for 4 days, going back and forth to my house just to make sure that everything was well okay, because no power, it freezes up the house. Make sure that the fireplace was on. We had a couple things that were warming up the house just to make sure nothing can go wrong, because honestly your pipelines can also freeze and create a unbearable situation that you don't want to go through. So that's the downside of Indiana. Indiana with the weather is very extreme sometimes, and it can get pretty devastating. Another thing is, during the month of January and February, now everybody just hangs out in the local area. Nobody really travels outside of the towns because nobody wants to risk an accident. More specifically, if the roads are not clear. But that's one of the cons. Another con is small towns, rural areas can be pretty boring. I understand with people like us, we don't really go out. We don't have the best social skills, so we don't have nobody to really give us companionship. So at that part, it's nothing too bad, unless if you're still like a person that likes to go out, explore, whatever. Then you have to do a little bit of driving. We don't have beaches around the area. We have to go to these like specific lakes that we consider beach, and you have to drive like an hour. But the pros of Indiana, even though like the economy right now, it hasn't been stable. It's been a little bit on and off because it's very industrious. We produce a lot of RV. We have a lot of RV industry. So when those factories go down, like the economy kind of suffers for it, and people start struggling. But it's still a little bit affordable. Rent, food. You can still afford it. It's a little bit comfortable, boring but comfortable. I would not say cozy anymore, because honestly with this inflation, everything's a little bit of a hazard situation. But like I said, if you want a cheap house, you can still get it. You might have to do some reparations, but it's still there. Another thing, salaries might be a little bit better, because I remember talking to this guy from California that moved to Indiana. And I asked him what made him move over here because there's not really much to do. It's a pretty boring place. His answer was the salaries are 3 times better than California, so I would just rather stay here, save money, and when I have money saved up, maybe move back or not, just stay here. And this is something very sad about Indiana. I'm not a guy that's very into the rural areas. I don't know too much about the city anymore because I never experienced it, and now that I'm getting older, I'm just thinking it twice. But one thing I cannot tolerate is specifically from Indiana. It's the weather, the the people surrounding us. A lot of people are more shady. A lot of people are more negative. People are now talkative. That's the downside. But other than that, it isn't pretty bad here. So I don't have too much to say about Indiana because there's not really much to explain. Because there's nothing very exciting about these rural areas. They're not rural areas. They're just towns. But it's like your next bigger city, it's like an hour away or 40 minutes. So a lot of people here just sit down, eat. Basically, restaurants, movie theaters, bars are your entertainment, or the nightclubs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's a little bit of information about Indiana. See, I don't, Indiana is nothing too exciting, nothing too spontaneous. It's just stay with rural towns, rural areas, or just specific local towns that are connected to each other at a distance of 10 minutes away. I understand that sometimes my videos are a little bit unclear. I mean, not unclear, disorganized, but I'm currently driving and it's like a little snowstorm, so I'm taking pauses, gotta pay attention where I'm driving at, but I'll make a small clip for you guys. But if you guys want to move somewhere else, maybe give Indiana a chance. Maybe you might have better luck here, and the dating life might be a little bit better because nobody here is a Chatter Stacy. Because honestly, everybody is a little bit on the unhealthy side because it's boring. It can get pretty depressing, and honestly, there's not really much of excitement over here. So there you go, guys. If you liked the video, like the button, and I'll see you in the next one.